Good morning, guys, and welcome to Dusting Off Warlord, Saga of the Storm, featuring Zul'Tan Bloodletter. So, a while ago, somebody asked a question in the Warlord Facebook group on how to build a deck for, I believe it was Life, Scion of Core from the 20th anniversary set, and my answer to that was, well, the deck builds itself, and I'm not really proud of that answer because it's not really helpful. Um, so, with the influx of new players we have coming in, I thought I would make a video kind of showing my thought process when I'm making a new deck for a Warlord I've never played before, and I have never played Zul'Tan Bloodletter before. So, like all of my content, this deck that I'm going to come up with here is not going to go storm the competitive online circuit. This is going to very much be a kitchen table and beer Warlord deck for me, what is a new Warlord. So we'll take a look at what Zul'Tan himself does, and then I will just go through step by step the way I compartmentalize my deck building. So, okay, so Zul'Tan Bloodletter is a 5th level evil Nothrog wizard. He has 2 melee strikes at +9, followed by +1. 13 armor class, +9 skill, and 4 hit points. He has Powerattack +0. He may equip fighter weapons. Zul'Tan's range strikes from spells may target characters in an adjacent rank. And finally, the React. Once per turn, after a target character is targeted with a spell by Zul'Tan, the target must succeed with a magic save, DC 15, or suffer a wound. Okay, so immediately the first thing that I do when I'm looking at a new Warlord is, what does this guy do that my other Warlords don't? Like, this is a Nothrog wizard, okay? What does he do that Tauth doesn't do? And just looking at his card, this guy looks like he wants to go to the front lines and hit things. So +9, +1, along with Powerattack, is pretty aggressive for a wizard, along with that 4th hit point for a little bit more survivability. 13 armor class is not good. +9 skill is, I believe, pretty much par for the course for wizard. Might be slightly on the low end, but his trait for range strikes means that he isn't punished for bringing range strike spells and going up against another frontliner. And then he tacks a ball lightning on once per turn to one of his spells. So I am going to take a look at stuff for him to do, ways to keep him alive when I'm getting him to do what he wants to do, and then just any other miscellaneous cards that I'm going to be adding. So first things first. So, as a 5th level wizard, Zul'Tan has access to all of the, the big flashy blaster spells that wizards can cast. He can cast Medusan Lord's Gambit, he can cast Prismatic Surge, he can cast Incinerate. I'm actually going to go with a combination of Fire Odin and Magic Missile. Fire Odin is mostly because I want to play it, because I haven't really ever used it, and it looks like it's him on the card. Oh dear, how do I even say what I'm about to say now? So, one of the advantages you have when you are just playing with your friends, instead of playing at, the competitive level where the rules are rules, if you don't like certain cards, like we don't play with Exhaustion, because Exhaustion's a stupid card that should never have been made, and I hate it with, extremely. The idea that this doesn't work with Zul'Tan the way you think it does, basically, I did ask a rules question about this because I've been scheming on this deck for a while, or in this video for a while, and it looks like you can use this to shoot someone that's next to you with it, but you actually can't, because this does not create a range strike until after you've targeted it. Like, this card doesn't know that it makes range strikes during the targeting phase, so Zul'Tan's trait doesn't apply. I don't believe that was the intended effect. Hedge, I'm sorry, I'm a big fan, but absolutely not, okay? Absolutely not. The idea that this is in his deck and he just can't use it the way it looks like you can, I mean, even a bunch of veteran players were like, of course that works. Yeah, so in my group, he can use this. Like, when we're playing, if I'm in rank 1, I'm blasting somebody else in rank 1 with this. I do like the idea that this card, between the range strike and the save DC, combined with Zul'Tan's own ball lightning effect that he tacks onto a spell, this could kill a character by, like, an opposing warlord by itself with just one card. Probably not going to happen, but if it does, that would be pretty awesome. Magic Missile, this could be better off as something like Power Bolt, but I like the idea that, I'm sure if you've played Warlord a bit, you've had these scenarios where there are a lot of juicy targets for a spell like Magic Missile that are scattered between rank 1 and rank 2. So Zul'Tan being able to kind of freely choose between those is something I like the sound of it. I don't know if it'll work or not, but we'll see. I am also going to include 3 copies of Viper Whip. So again, going with how aggressive his melee stats are, and the fact that he has power attack, Viper Whip can, I think, potentially, it could be a nasty surprise if he just goes, "Hey, I'm going to punch you for 2." You might have to make the save DC also, and get spent by this. That could be problematic. And because I want him to both be spending to attack and spending to cast spells, I'm going to go with Scimitar of Fire as his weapon. There are probably better choices for him. In particular, Dueling Saber is probably better off altogether. But I already have a grain deck that's more or less built around Dueling Saber, and I don't want this to turn into, a green Ygraine. So that's what I'm going to try to do for him once he's actually there at the front. But I also need to keep him alive when he's at the front. So again, as a 5th level wizard, he can cast, a lot of the cool survival spells. You have Power Word Kill, you have Burning Hands, you have Stone Skin. I'm going to go with Power Word Kill and Isadran Treachery. I don't want to do Burning Hands, again, for the reason that it's in my Ygraine deck, and yeah. Also, I don't think it's quite as good without Dueling Saber. Power Word Kill, being able to force them to make a DC 20 or take 2. And then again, I know he can only do it once per turn, but the opportunities to attack on his Ball Lightning effect, I mean, that could kill you right there. I mean, if you have to make those 2 saves and potentially die, that might give people pause. Isadran Treachery, you can probably play something like Devious Illusions instead of this or along with this. I like this mostly because, again, his AC is really bad, and that +2 bump might actually help keep you alive. Plus, it generates a melee strike, and again, he's got a +9 attack and power attack. So, gonna go with those. Some other stuff to help keep him alive. Rod of Resistance I like. Glyph of Healing. Normally, I'm not super big on, this kind of wound removal, but this reduces the wounds to 0, unlike something like, Balm Tears Potion, that just reduces it by 1. If there's a rogue who's sitting there, some, Cabri Netherin, who spent you and is getting ready to freaking backstab you with an assassination, if you have this on, he's gonna have to get rid of it first, so I do like that. Bracers of Deflection and Cloak of the Leech. Bracers gives you magic resistance, and even though it says +2, in reality, most of the time this is going to be giving you +4 AC. I think originally, instead of Cloak of the Leech, I really like Album's Prism Cloak, but again, if you're not running Dueling Saber, I like the idea of potentially getting some charges on this through other means. And just buffing your spells up with that. And of course, because you're a Nothrog, you have cards like Urg, you have cards like Uthanak's Tower, to try to help give you some extra survivability on the front. And to get to the front, we're gonna include a couple toys. They're not a huge amount. Nothrogs have a character called Rangok, who I am a really big fan of, and he is going to be one of the starters, because even if you don't draw anything else, he starts in play, and he will get your Zul'Tan to the front on the first turn, assuming he doesn't die. Ring of Vorn and Phantasmal Steed, I like both of these. Ring of Vorn is movement that you can use on other characters, which can situationally be useful. And Phantasmal Steed, this was actually a camel originally, and then when I was going through my cards, I'm like, huh. So it gives me Scribe. It can move me forward or backward, but it also gives me a small buff to my stats based on how many spells I have scribed. And I've got plenty of defensive spells, so, you know, even just a little bit of buff to your AC can possibly mean the difference between you living and you dying. For some miscellaneous, just trickery, I guess you'd call it here. Again, I like the idea of redding with Scimitar of Fire, because you can spend to attack and then still cast your spells. The spell Gift of Life is a wizard spell that can be used to ready other wizards, and again, you can do whatever you want to after that. So you could, in theory, spend to attack, cast Gift of Life with one of your other wizards, spend to attack again, ready yourself with the Scimitar, and then spend to cast a spell. It might be a little ambitious, but I like the sound of it. You're going to need some wizards to do that, so we've got Albino Novice, who is a wizard who can kill himself to cast this, and coincidentally, you want this guy to die to get his react to go off. So, I'm kind of a lesser-known character that I don't really ever see played, probably for a good reason, but we're going to go with it anyway, is Tar, if I'm even saying that correctly. This guy combos really well with Magic Missile because he's giving someone a penalty to their armor class. And again, he can spend a cast Gift of Life too. Probably not super good, but we're gonna see. We're gonna see how it goes. And then, of course, I mentioned charges earlier. So if you're talking about wizard with charges, you are talking about Kabir the Insane, who can project damage with his range strike. He can put charges onto the cloak to kind of speed it up a bit, and he's a body, so I like that. Just some extra miscellaneous, bodies that you have. It's Nothrog, so I do like Dogs of Hate just as potential speed bumps. If you're playing against a fighter warlord who doesn't have a way to kill these in one hit, these guys can be so freaking annoying to chew through. I'm a big fan of these guys. It's ancient, so of course you've got your obligatory one Temple of Lore, or Tauren Yasar, excuse me, but also a Temple of Lore, because Zul'Tan's going to be on the front. I mean, +5 is a pretty big buff to his armor class and his attack. And you can move this backward with your Ring of Vorn to try to help keep it alive, if it's the only thing keeping you alive. As far as other things I'm looking at, I want to try to buff his skill and his save DCs a bit. So I do like Symbol of Kerberos because it's a small buff to everything. It's a pretty sizable buff to his skill, which is nice. Spellbook, again, increases the save DC for his spells. It does give you another magic missile, which is, it's nice, but yeah. And then a card that came out in 4th edition, Spitting Cobra. I'm a really big fan of Spitting Cobra. It gives you some skill. It gives you a very, very small buff to your attack. But you can spend this to actually do wounds to people. It forces a DC 12 save. Not super high, but it doesn't have to be in an adjacent rank. It can be 2 ranks away. So you can use this to reach out and get something that is behind a wall of bodies, which is nice. So now really the only thing I need to go over are these starters. So again, I'm going to be running a Rangok next to an Uthanax tower. The Rangok to shove Zul'Tan forward and the tower to hopefully help keep him alive once he's there. As far as my rank 1, again, I've mentioned this, I believe, in most of my videos. I'm a really big fan of your first action being a shot into their second rank. There's almost always something just juicy to get there. So we're going to go with a copy of Huldra next to an Urg. Huldra can spend to do a +4 range strike, which is really high for a level 1 character. The side effect of this is it spends anyone that's next to her. Urg doesn't really care that he's spent, I don't think, most of the time. He's only got a +1 strike, and he doesn't need to be ready to do his bodyguard ability. That leaves a single ready character on the far side of the formation. We're going to go with a copy of Gunda for that. A lot of people don't want to punch Gundas when they're ready. So there are other options here to attack a spent Urg, I guess, or the Huldra. So we're going to cobble this all together and see what comes out of it. There are some cards I really do want to try to fit in here. I really like the idea of Cabal Spire. It increases the save DC on Fire Odem on all of his DC spells, but it also increases the DC on his own trait, his Ball Lightning effect. So I really like the sound of that. I'm going to see what I can do about fitting one of those in there. I did mention earlier Powerbolt as one of his potential spells, and that's if you're doing both Powerbolt and Magic Missile, you can remove the Spitting Cobra and add the Nihil Familiar instead for some more readying. You lose the ability to do wounds with the Cobra, but the additional readying, I might try that out to see how it goes. A couple other defensive options you can go with. Tiefel Tiger's Mask is not terrible, but after the errata, I think it's usable. I'm not gonna, I think, run it in here. And then Potion of Blurring with Nodwick is always a solid option. I'm not going to do that because I do that in too many other decks, and I want this to be a little bit different. So after all that, this is what we've got. So hopefully you found this useful in some way. Again, I'm not making any claims that I'm some kind of genius in Warlord. I've just been playing for a long time, and just if you're looking at starting a Warlord you never played before, maybe this will jog some thought patterns in how you want to try assembling your own deck. So that's gonna do it. Thanks for checking this out, guys, and I will catch you in the next video.